Hello, 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 hello. Hi. How's everybody doing today? So weirdly enough, I think all of my overlays, not my overlays, my Windows junk has changed colors to orange for some reason. I'm assuming it's due to the holiday, but it's really thrown me off. Like genuinely, it's my brain is having difficulty looking at things that are like orange. Okay, well, I guess we're going to do this for a little while. Give her a perfectly decent nap. Dwarf, you do not have to. Listen. I say this every single stream chat. So I am going to make a TikTok making fun of all of you. You especially. You know who you are. I'm going to be making a TikTok making fun of all of you, by the way. And what it's going to be about is how everybody keeps apologizing for being here late or saying that they need to do other things or they're being here. I mean, like, look. I'm not paying you to be here. I love having you here. Don't get me wrong. I love you very, very much. But. You take care of yourself, okay? Yeah, Vanya. It's okay too. Even if you are a mod, you are also allowed to be late. Sorry I'm early. You should be sorry for being early. But I do appreciate you. PNG Tuba. Oh, that's your name. I was like, how did you redeem PNG Tuba? I didn't know I had that. Thank you. Cheers. Hello, how you doing? Sorry, I'm here. You should be. Wait, you thought Dwarf, what did you think? What? I'm so confused. Yeah, yes, no. Thank you for the hydrate und Scarlet Iviana PNG Tuba. I saw your name was the PNG Tuba, and my brain immediately went, how did you redeem PNG Tuba? What is this? Vince says redeem. And then I realized, no, it's part of your name. Sorry, I exist. Me too. No, don't leave though. Don't leave. Listen. You're here now. Now you're not allowed to leave. But you do not have to show up. But once you're here, you're not allowed, okay? So you have to stay here. You're in the basement already. I've locked the door. Exactly. The door locks behind you. You didn't hear it when you came in, but there you go. Oh no, I'm going to do that. I'm going to 100% make a TikTok where I go, all my viewers keep apologizing about being late. And they should be sorry. They should be quitting their jobs just so they can watch me. But I want you to know that it is a joke, okay? I appreciate you all too much. For me to, I'm a spirit, I can leave. Well, yeah, you know, that's also true. Okay, how long do I have to do this voice for? That is fair. VT is fine. And there's a lot of underscores in your name. You could even get rid of those if you want to make it shorter. A soundboard with a creaky door shutting. I know, that is a plan. I want to do that when people raid in so that we can swap the screen and be like, and just, I'm going to talk a little bit longer, and eek. Well, now that you're stuck here. I need to add that to stream ideas. Give me a second, chat. Stream ideas. Where is it? That's Meteor Night. By the way, we have a Meteor Night video today. Thank you again, Aura, for making it. Und it is locking door sound und kicking door after raid. There it goes. Okay. Yes, it is even longer than it was before. Yeah, hopefully you did not make any mistakes, Aura. It's okay. But yes, I do truly appreciate it, Aura. I hope you know, Aura. This is just a temporary accent. You can wait, if you want to hear my normal voice sounds like this. Scarlet. This is how I normally sound. But right now we have the German routine, and we have that for additional minute. This is my Leo voice. And we have another one that I haven't named yet. Oh, chat! You know what, while we're here, do you want to name the southern voice? What do you say? Would you like to name the southern voice with me? We can do this right now. Liam, I kind of like Liam. Marshall, oh, Marshall is good. Okay, wait. We're going to, everybody gets one, and then I will pick some and we vote on it, okay? Okay, here we go. Michael, no, I don't like someone. Liam is my brother. Bet I am your brother, now, dwarf. No, I don't want to be your brother. Arthur. No, Arthur would have to be something else a little bit more like this, you know? We could be Arthur. Arthur's going to be up here. And Marshall's your grandfather. I mean, no, I can't do that. So very, very, okay, Rhett. I do like Rhett a lot. Rhett is kind of cool. Okay, and I can stop now. All right, here we are. We're back. Brad isn't Southern. God damn, you think this voice is gonna be Brad? Bucky? I could do Bucky. All right, you know what? I like Red. Red. Holy shit, Red actually probably is the best, ain't it? Red's probably the best. Because, I mean, I'm Red. And that would work. Red. Arthur? What do you mean? Bubba. No, but Bubba's a different kind of voice. Bubba's a different kind of voice. I don't know if I can do a Bubba. Because Bubba's going to be... I like Red. We'll do Red. And that way I can get a red hat. Or I can do a black and red hat. That would be amazing. A hillbilly redeem. I ain't doing no hillbilly. I can't do that one. That one's a bit outside of my range, all right? I mean, I can try my hardest, and I can do my best, but honestly, I don't think I can get that one. That one's going to be a little bit too much for me, all right? All right? All right, Guns, he's got that red cowboy hat. I want a red cowboy hat. I want to get a red and black cowboy hat. I look legitimately really good in cowboy hats. You haven't seen it yet, but I look good in cowboy hats. I think cowboy hats look good on so many people. It's just, you know. Yeah. God damn it, all right. Guess we're doing this one again. I mean, I guess we can drop it down here a bit. And now we got this. All right, we got this now. And Scarlett. Scarlett, lovely. I'm glad you want to listen to my voice. No. Everybody looks good in something. Now, hear me out, Jack. Hear me out. I mean, could you trying to take my cowboy hat? No. Oh, sorry. I got you. I'm such a good doggy. So. Now. Where were we? My brain went off for a split second here. All right, we got to write down the name Red. We're gonna do Red. Red's gonna be great. It's gonna be amazing. Oh wait, Scarlett, you're new here. Hey, Scarlett, you want to hear my demo reel? You want to hear my demo reel real quick? We can get a little demo reel in here real quick. Chan, can I play it for Scarlett? Please. You know I like showing it off. All right, you ready? 1 second. We're gonna do a 3, 2, 1. I don't think I'm gonna make it. My legs hurt. Even my brain hurts.
Reversing the polarity will cause a cataclysmic reaction of... turn the dials right. Make device go boom.
I thought I'd left you dead in the desert. I mean, haunted by ghosts, ain't I? I guess I deserve it.
Good evening, fellow Mad Cats. DJ Fang is ready to spin more records. Coming up next, 12 commercials back to back. My favorite.
You made it. I didn't think you'd come. No one else has. Still, you seriously made my day. We are not taking any more party members. Wait, are you wearing a dead possum as a scarf?
Nah, she ain't dead. She's just scared. The poor sweetie pie.
Please, take a seat. Right here, by my side.
Where you can't get away so easily.
I am Nerd. Hear me roar. I can't really roar that well, but I'm trying, okay?
Well, that's what the last guy thought. And you don't want to know what happened to him. Do not be blinded by fear, my child. Embrace it. Welcome it. Let it pass. Remember, only you shall remain in the end.
Oh, God, I love it. I love it every time. Jake the Voice Par. If you haven't seen him, go on Twitter. Jake the Voice Par. I like that one a lot, too. By the way, there was actually some sound recording issues with that, where some of, like, the sound got cut a little bit, and he was able to, like, fix a little bit of the popping noises that I had. But God, he is so amazing. He directed it, he cut it, he edited it, and I love that man. He also does his own voice acting, and if you ever want to see his ASMR channel, feel free to go check him out. That is Jake. Jake the Voice Par. He's amazing. He's amazing. He's amazing. He's amazing. But yeah, we were talking about clothes earlier. So, chat. Everybody looks good in something. It doesn't matter what. You just need to learn how to dress properly for your body. I had to learn that too. Hell, I didn't know how to wear pants properly until like like a year ago. And that's oof, which is kind of rough to admit, you know. But it is what it is, what it is, what it is. Okay, where are we? What scene are we in? I think we're in gaming. There we go. Oh, okay. So, no one ever told me how to wear pants. Because, I mean, I guess everybody kind of, you know, just wears pants. And no. I wore them, like, right, you know, where your legs end? Like, right on your hips, not, like, above your hips. And I didn't realize that the pants were supposed to go over the belly button. And so all of my pants never look like they fit right because I was low riding every single pair of pants my entire adult life. I just always would have a tight belt. I wonder how many people out there do the exact same thing. Oh yeah, no, I low ride in my entire life. I'm just like, it's just who I am. And you know what's funny? I still dated so many people. I'm just like, it's not the clothes. It's not the clothes that'll stop you. It's got to be your personality. You have a good personality, even if you look like an idiot, you can still do it. I actually I sized up my pants. Like I had to increase the size by like a whole like length size when I finally started wearing them properly. And I'm just like, wait, Echo, do you not wear your pants so that you're supposed to wear them over your like right at your belly button and above your hips? Because that's how your body's made. Echo, are you doing the same thing I was doing? And see, I'm not the only person then. And I looked online, and there's a lot of people. I mean, like, you can wear low rides, yeah. But pants are made to go over the stomach. Oh, well, that's fine. You can sag until you want to die. But they're made to go over the stomach, and that's why they'll look kind of, like, baggy in the crotch if you're not, like, wearing them high enough. Yeah. Took me most of my adult life to get there. Talking about I used to wear clothing awfully. All right, so. Well, Aura has cut this video together from all of the submissions that were submitted to Aura. And they are, I don't know. I don't know if they're good. I don't know if they're bad. I don't know what they are. But they're submitted in the Discord, ! Discord. I know, and that was my thing, Echo. It's like, it just felt wrong, but then, like, I looked at it, I'm like, I look so much better. Oh, God damn. So, are you ready? Are you chat ready? We were ready to watch the media? I'm going to be pausing this randomly. I'm going to be making comments on it. So, if you do not like somebody who stops playing videos in the middle of them because they want to talk over it, I'm sorry. Okay. Here. V. Oh, let's make sure the sound's going through properly, actually. All right, tell me if you can hear this, chat.
I know you're closing.
Okay, you can hear that? A little bit loud? We're gonna turn it down a little bit.
In like 3 minutes. Can
I do? No, I think this is.
I know you're closing.
Is that good? Audio good? Perfect. Her hair is cute. Her hair is cute. Oh, that one's... Where's my other one? I'm also going to take a single toke. Exactly, mostly sober. There we go. All right, we ready? Let's go.
I know you're closing in like 3 minutes. Can I get 7 Big Macs, 2 quarter pounders, 13 double cheeseburgers, 10 medium fries, 28 McChickens.
The response to the Big Mac was the most appropriate.
I know you're closing in like 3 minutes. Can I get 7 Big Macs, 10 quarter pounders, 13 double cheeseburgers,
Wait, I didn't hear the. Did you notice the second voice? Did you hear the second voice?
10 medium
Fuck no!
fries, 28 McChickens.
Chad, it's me. Chad, it's me. This is me for real. I just wanna.
Were you
That's
not
all.
raised by a black woman?
I was raised by a black woman.
So that makes you a black man.
Yes, it does.
Are you aware of the struggles of a black man?
I'm very aware.
Okay, so then why would you want to add to the level of anxiety that the black man already carries by tickling them?
Because it is my constitutional right to be tickled.
Negro, you were not even included in the Constitution.
Hey chat, I just remembered that I was making soda. Do you remember when I was making soda? How many days ago was that? was that more than a few days? Yeah. I'll be right back. I need to go check on it. It's who? Oh, I'm sure it's fine. Or oh. Okay. Wait, it's fine. It's fine. I'm sure it's fine. Oh my god, it's under so much pressure. Oh my god, it's under so much pressure. Oh my god, it's under so much pressure. Wait. Okay. I'll be right back. I'm gonna open this in the shower so that nothing bad happens. I'll be right back. We're good. We're fine. Everything's great. I'm so sorry. Okay, that was, that was, that entire time I was just venting it. It is hella carbonated. I'm so excited to try it tomorrow. I hope it tastes good. It's interesting looking. It's, what do you mean you heard it? What do you mean you heard it? There's no way you heard the shh sounds. You could hear the noise of the fucking the bubbling? I was so far away. How loud was that? Jesus. Well, yeah. Yeah. Well, next time I'll mute. Good to know. Good to know. It's definitely a color. And every time I would undo it, and like open it more, it would like fully repressurize. So I had to keep opening it and closing it. It's a yellow. It currently has no flavoring in it. It is currently sugar flavored. It's sugar carbonated is all it is. Well, it uses yeast to make the carbonation. So it's sugar and yeast that makes the carbonation. I'm just worried it fermented. So, I mean, of course it ferments. That's part of the purpose. But I don't know how long I had it sitting there. So is it now potentially alcoholic? I did clean the bottle beforehand deeply. So it should be safe to drink. Oh, it smells fermented. It just doesn't smell like alcohol. It smells like yeasty and sugary and sweet and carbonated. So we'll see how it... Anyways. Thank you for the follow. Whoever did follow. I appreciate it. Unmuting notifications. There we go. Okay. Drink it on stream. Maybe at the end of stream. Maybe. What type of alcohol would it be? I don't know. If I ferment sugar, what alcohol would it be? It's just called a sugar brew, apparently. Our sugar brews are made by fermenting sugar, cane, beet, or corn to create a neutral flavored alcohol. Huh. Never heard of that before. It's a sugar brew type shit. Anyways, back to it. Oh, I thought about it because I picked up my Mountain Dew bottle and I'm like, hey, I could make more soda on this later. And then immediately I was like, shit. Oh, how romantic. Chat, we need to do this. You and me, let's go. That was so cute. Oh, I've seen this one. I love this. You're not gonna get him? Man, instigating.
Yeah, that way. Hey, I'm drunk as fuck. I don't give a fuck, nigga. I'm international, nigga. I'm in Paris and y'all niggas at the crib. Okay, I'm finna pop that drink. I wish my nigga Corday was here. I wish my nigga Doc was here, bro. You know I'm finna pop that bottle, bro. You understand what the fuck going on, bro? East side, nigga, bro. I'm goddamn, yo, that way, nigga. Damn, Corday ain't here. All right, we popping it. Oh, shit. Yo. Yeah, nigga, east side shit, bro. I'm getting drunk as fuck. I don't give a fuck.
All right. Kitty cat comp, got it. Kitty cat comp. I get the premise. We're ready. This is incredible. Is this Subway Surfer? Oh, never mind. Oh. Take it. Take the money and run, kid. Take the money and run, kid. You got it, kid. That was cute. I know, right? Oh, that was so cute.
This study shows that the number of gay people has doubled over the last 10 years. That's crazy. I know. I wonder what the homophobes are thinking. They probably feel they're in dire need for some straights. Yo, why did you phrase it like that? Oh my God!
Why'd you do it? Why'd you do it?
Alright, babe, I got a question for you.
Yeah, what's up?
Well,
wait.
Look at the little fucking cowboy hat. Wait. I need to pause it. Oh, no, it was again. Look at this fucking little cowboy hat. I want one. I kind of need a partner before I get my. Never mind. Anyways, we're not gonna be sad.
Wait, didn't you look different before?
bless your heart.
What?
Of course I look different. You put a damn cowboy hat on me.
Yeah, but it's not that. Your little body looks different.
Darling, listen to me. This is an upgrade, all right? So look me in the eye and say you're sorry.
For what?
The fucking say you're sorry. Yar for the damn cowboy hat. It does worry me that his first response to being a cowboy is attacking her as a little robot. Check how soft I can piss. Alright. Why would you watch it? Why would you watch?
Reminder: if you're doing it for the plot, be prepared for the plot to thicken.
Girl, what's the plot? Girl, what's the plot? Girl, what's the plot? Girl, no, come back. Explain the plot to me. All right. Okay, okay. That was so nice. That was nice. Whoever submitted that one, thank you.
I'm not gonna do that, you.
All right. You all right? Yeah. Cobblestone. Ooh. Ooh. Ooh.
I went on this date a few years back. And I told her she looked just like
that was
her
a
in
lot.
profile pics, despite being very photogenic. I was like, what do you do for work? Are you an actress? Do you work in the industry? And she was like, oh, thank you. No, I'm actually a geometry teacher. And I was like, oh, so you really know a lot about angles, you know, because haha, like the
Sorry.
camera angle, but also geometry is like the mathematical study of angles. She then reaches into her Telfair bag and pulls out a Glock 19.
What? What? No, wait. What is that plot twist there? I mean, she had the same reaction I did. You want to make that fucking joke again? I mean, if the accent didn't give it away, I think that happened in America, chat. What do you think? What do you think? I don't think that happened in the UK that often. Jesus Christ. What, math is... You make one more fucking joke about math, boy, and I'm going to shoot you.
All right, this bad boy here is a 2008 Vita.
What the fuck was... Okay.
She then reaches into her Telfair bag and pulls out a Glock 19.
All right, this bad boy here is a 2008 Vita.
I mean, you hit him, he can hit back. Yeah.
Whiter hole? Does that word coochie stinkt?
Du bist ein Idiot. Keine Sorge.
Man throwing anime power attacks. All right, sick. Run. Stoppable? Okay. That's how I expect all of you to be once I get my code, chat. Finish in the tubs. Finish them as quickly as you can.
Hi, Mommy. I need some toilet paper. Mom. Mommy, please. I'm just kidding. I love you. Bye-bye.
Imagine having to go to school with that man. Imagine having to go to school with that man, because you know he keeps doing it. There it is again. There he is.
I don't want to do the thing. I'm in class right now. Don't be mad at me, okay? I love you. Bye-bye.
Oh, God. Okay, you know what? The bill's really that high, man.
My nigga, that's word of my dad. If I'm lying, I'm flying. I put that on my mother, nigga. Nothing beats a Jet 2 holiday. Fuck is you talking about, nigga? That's 50 beans off every YN in the spot. Niggas is bugging. You wasted wild time, my nigga. When the sale up, you gonna be dumb tight because you ain't go when I told you to go, my nigga. It's 200 beans off for 2 YNs and 2 LBs, my nigga. You bugging on my thuggin'. Go.
Wait, you're not
first
done.
off,
There's
let
still
me
more of
extend
it.
my
Come back.
Congratulations to our new chief product reviewer.
When I saw the job posting in the newspaper, I thought to myself, now that's one thing I'm good at.
It's wonderful.
I just wanted to clarify the ad seemed to show primarily light pecks on the cheek. Will there be any opportunities for longer kisses on the mouth?
Amethyst.
Well, it really wouldn't be testing lipstick with just a quick peck on the cheek, would it?
And how often will I be able to be getting these little kisses? And if I like the kisses, can I get even more kisses as well, please?
I'll elaborate on that a little bit later, but first, preliminary questions we got to get out of the way, and we can get to
Good
the
night,
tests,
Fountain.
all right?
Sleep well.
Product test 0-043, Summer's Passion. Have you ever been kissed before?
Yes, by Cindy and Cindy's mum.
How many kisses are you qualified to receive?
Hundreds, I reckon, if not tens of hundreds.
How do you handle fear in the kissing process?
I never really had to think about that.
Have you been diagnosed with a heart condition or brittleness of bone?
No, but thank you for asking.
Have you ever had a life-threatening complication?
I just have a quick question. Where are the pretty ladies?
Oh, we don't use those here. A woman's lips
Ah,
have far
crucified.
too much give. We prefer to breed our own. A helpful way to think of it is like the difference between like a makeup sponge and you squish it, you know, and it's how squishy it is, versus like a hydraulic.
We breed our own.
graphite ball with nails coming out. In
What is
different
this?
dimensions. But yeah, to get back to your earlier question, your opportunities for advancement at this job will be many. If you have the ability to feel sensation and answer yes or no questions by blinking, we have work for you. Here's your uniform. I'll see you in the laboratory. You can just change in here. I promise not to peek.
Can I have a turkey and cheese sandwich?
What the hell was that?
Please, I'll make it do a somersault. You want mayo on that? Yeah. Make it racist. Please don't.
Make it racist, chat.
I just don't know how. It's quite simple. Every day you just gotta take a good look in the mirror and...
Okay. Oh! Wait, is that an option? Do I not know how to use mirrors properly? Someone stinks. It is an option? Oh, also stretch. Yeah, I need a new mirror. Apparently, yeah, mine I've never... Well, you know, not that I've tried or anything.
Behold, my field unto which I grow my fucks. Notice that it is barren, for I have no fucks to give.
My mirror's broken. I love that. He was good. All right, here we go. Get it? Amazing. Wait, no, maybe not that move. Maybe not that move. You're gonna break your stuff, man. Oh, that's better. We're back on it. Jesus.
Excuse me. I think your kid just bit my kid.
Oh, jeez. Jessica! Jessica? Did you bite that boy?
Ooh.
Oh, okay. Yeah, she
Ooh.
didn't do it.
No, look at him. She clearly bit him.
Ooh, thank you so much for the redeem.
Okay.
Thank you.
She says you're a poopy-faced liar.
Look, if I could just get your info, just in case my son ends up with rabies, that would be great.
Hi, Echo. Echo Rose.
We're running out of playgrounds, Jessica.
What? What? Hold on.
Chat, that's how you all talk, right? That's how you sound? I imagine all of you sound exactly like this.
But what did you...
Uh-huh. So smart, so wise. Such a smart cat. You're the best.
Chef, despite eating everything in our pantry, I know you can still help me cook something really...
Hurry up, Anthony. The food critic is waiting for your special dish.
And turn up the heat, will you?
Not that you need it. Petit coquin.
Oh, what was that? What the fuck was that? What the hell was that? All right.
Tennis ball, throw it against the wall. Tennis ball, throw it against the wall. Tennis ball, throw it against the wall. Bounce, 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 bounce. Tennis ball, throw it against the wall.
Okay.
Tennis ball, throw it against the wall.
Amazing.
Tennis ball, throw it against the wall. Bounce, 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 bounce. Tennis ball, throw it against the wall. Tennis ball, throw it against the wall.
Tennis ball, throw it against the wall.
Helps me forget about my cancer.
What? Come on. Everyday low. Our everyday low prices are not. What the fuck? What the what? What? What the fuck?
If you was a hamster, what would you name yourself?
Ah.
If you was a hamster, what would you name yourself?
Wet battery.
Niggas, this is Tony the Intelligent Goon.
No,
I'm telling
Tony.
you guys not to push Mongo. The white man is trying to keep you down, but if you push Mongo, you will stay down forever.
You stay Mongo, you will die.
You will die.
Hey guys, it's me, Tyler, here with Esmeralda. I adopted her from Mexico. She doesn't know English yet. I donated to charity too. I'm really a good guy. Esmeralda, calm down, okay? We'll get some tacos soon.
We have the exclusive interview with
Do
Barbara
you think he
Walters
just
right
found a random kid in a park?
I'm Barbara Walters.
All right.
I'm an eagle. You're not an eagle. You're an adult man. I'm an eagle.
Caw? Caw. Caw.
With that said, I want everybody to shake their ass when this fucking song come on. Yeah! Hey, ASAP Rocky, shake that ass. Shake it on Jaden. He next to you. He might like it with his weird ass. She ain't got no ass, but shake them bones.
Eagles won? Go Birds.
The Echo Maker by Richard Peters.
I kind of want to read this book now.
Hold on, don't boo this nigga yet. Hold on. Let me read the back. On a winter night on a winter 27. This book is trash. So you just gonna bring me a birthday gift on my birthday to my birthday party on my birthday with a birthday gift?
Happy birthday.
Losing ass niggas, losing niggas, losing ass niggas, bro. Oh, he look hurt. Oh, he look hurt. Look at that's a third place medal, guys. That's a third place. No, you didn't. No, you ain't. The video's over. The video's.
How much Tyler Creator? How much Tyler the Creator's in this? How much Tyler the Creator's in this?
You weird nigga. You weird nigga.
I'll give it 3 more and then I'll skip forward.
Hey, nigga,
I moved to LA, nigga, and I can't catch a vibe, nigga. Cause niggas weird, nigga. I moved to LA and I can't catch a fucking vibe, nigga.
I love this man. Too bad he's not real.
Tyler, please sit still. Tyler, please.
I've seen this on this interview.
Tyler.
It's so great.
Tyler, please.
He goes, it's going to be a very original question. He says, if you ask me what inspires me, I will come and attack you. I'll punch you in the throat. Huh?
What the hell?
Say hello to Thomas.
Hi, Tom. Hey! Nice to meet you, Howling Moon.
You can make up some work, man. Hey, it's been 2 weeks. Hey, you missed 13 assignments and you have a testimony.
I know how that feels. Also, tell your kitty I say hi. I have no clue what just happened, chat. I wasn't paying attention. Okay, I was falling asleep to the terrarium making...
Hardcore German dubstep for this. Oh, yeah. Party get up.
What the fuck was that?
This bored ass nigga, this nigga is in here on skate, dressed as himself, currently in uniform. This nigga is in
Put himself in the game. I don't think that was intentional. I don't think that was intentional. I think that man is so dedicated to the fit that he can't think of anything else.
If you ever get tired of me, there's the door. That door's blocked off. I'll just use the window over there.
Yeah. Chat.
You're not getting out.
Look, I've said it before, but you're fucking stuck here. I'm sorry. You're not going anywhere. I'm not letting you escape. Thank you for the follow. And by the way, you've also trapped yourself. I'm sorry you didn't hear the door closing behind you, but... Oh, you almost won. Stuck now, but thank you for the follow. Oh, wait, we got another follow. Let's see if you won. Wait. You also just trapped yourself, though. Congratulations. Welcome. You're never leaving. Oh, didn't win.
I disagree. I got to this interview for a reason. It's because I have good skills. I'm a good people person, and I know how to get results. So I'm not concerned with that at all.
Thank you for the subscription. Thank you. Oh, the hairnet's not stupid. All right.
I don't feel like I did it right the first time. It's a big thing. I need
Again? Are you serious? Is that Don, Juan, John's, Ron, John, and crayons in a box from Amazon, on a pawn, on Qui-Gon's, Padawan, Obi-Wan, on a swan drawn, on Ron Swan Son, on Vaporeon the Pokemon, on Ron's Juan, on Elon, on LeBron, on Spawn, on Mulan, on Mulan, on my lawn, next to the pond?
Yeah. Hey, for the bits! Thank you, Gramps. How you doing, Gramps the dog? Fanya, your family's in town! It's your family, Vanya. Because you're a turtle. I just want to know, because you're a turtle. How are there why are there more? How are there more? What do you mean there are more? Where are they coming from? Oh, thank you. That's a lot of turtles. Oh, tortoise. I'm sorry, Vanya, they're not your family. My bad. Thank you, Gramps. I like the ones that are wearing clothes. This is a long turtle feed. Is this the whole feeding experience? It's still... It just keeps going. Okay.
Alright, y'all, this is day one of me having my new toy, right? And I'm gonna try my best not to overreact, okay? I am the spellcaster. I am the master of the spell. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. Spells. I know your future. I'll tell you your fortune. The ball will tell. Now it's time for me to cast my magical spell.
I wish I could.
Sorry, I did not see the vision. Thank you, Lord, the fine you has risen. Big riff coming, I need a minute. Wait, I need a minute. Okay, here it comes.
Wait, why is this one again? Aura! Wait, is this a different one? Is this the same premise by somebody else? Well, you got lucky. You got lucky, Aura. You got lucky. You were so close. Ooh, okay. This reminds me of the early 2000s. That was Chef's an Edit. That was Chef's an Edit. I never heard that song. Like, kind of like. Oh wait. Oh god damn it. Thank you, Gramps. I got this.
This is me smiling.
What the hell? Why are we doing this? Why are you doing this to yourself, man? Don't do this. What hair? Wait, God, man. Oh, why'd you get it on your eyebrows? Oh god, it's gone. His eyebrows are gone. His eyebrows are gone. Wait, was it from the early 2000s? I knew it.
Oh my god.
You didn't have to do this, man.
It's there. Just can't do it. This was a stupid idea.
Yeah, I mean, obviously. God damn this man. God, I wish the UK was a real place. Oh, hello.
The glass. If you kill me here tonight, it will fuel their rage. They won't rest until you're burned to ash. If you were to die, all demons will be wiped off the face of the earth.
How long this one? Would like some tea? I'd love some tea.
It seems the winds have shifted.
Wait, you trying to sell me tea, Carmia?
Bitch, I'm tweaking, Bitch, I'm tweaking, Catch your breath, bitch. Catch your breath, bitch. Catch your breath, bitch.
Man, it's them East India Trading Company roots of yours. Throw it in the bay!
That thriller right on me like. Bitch, I'm tweaking.
That was beautiful. Amazing edit. Well done.
Of course, gay dudes know how to dress. They was in the closet. We was never in there. If I come
Yeah.
out the closet, I'm coming out fresh as hell too.
That's true facts, chat. I'm actually not allowed to own a closet, so that's how you know I'm straight. And my ex-boyfriend would agree with me that I was
I
straight.
appreciate that you called me a good person. You're an amazing woman. But never forget, when you get up out that bed and you start your day, you about to get your grind and your hustling, you look at yourself in the mirror. Remember that you are a strong, beautiful, independent, and Latina woman. You deserve everything coming your way, and you will get blessed by God and more.
Are you a pastor?
Shit, I could be. Real shit. There's nothing that. What can I do for real? That's a question. Nah, I can't build.
Find a wife. Wait.
Yeah, you know what? How do you take something so fucking beautiful and you fuck it up that quick? What the fuck? You know what's funny? You're single with me, so you know what? We're gonna die alone. Joke's on you.
Man.
Now you're mad. You got a fucking whole leg tat. You got a whole leg tat. And
Wait. Chat, it's ad break. It's ad break. We're going to take a little ad break so nobody misses out on it. Let's take a little ad break. Take a little stretchy leg. Stretch your legs. Stand up. We got 3 minutes. Sorry, Jeff, I got to stop right here. Fine, we'll finish it off. Let's go.
you know what? Nobody like this shit. So you know what? You're alone with me. Shut up.
This nose is bigger than that one.
All right, 3 minute ad break. 3 minute ad break. I'm right back, all right? Take your ads. Take a break. Five minute. That way y'all can play a little game. You ready? Look at how amazing y'all did. Y'all did so fantastic. I'm so proud of you. You did so good. That was amazing. Y'all went up 5 levels. Unfortunately, that's where you're going to have to end it because we are still watching media. You have the TISM powers, the word TISM powers. That's fair. You know, it works for you. You got it. Are you ready, chat? You ready to watch some more stuff? I've noticed you've liked the phonetic alphabet. Nap time. I just tend to ignore it. All right, here we go. Yeah. Ready? Are you ready? Whoop, whoop, kabah.
Big small, cuz. I'm a child, nigga, I know.
Bro, my
There you go.
smoke detector been chirping for 3 weeks. We just harmonizing.
I do!
That bitch.
Exclamation point Discord. Man was synced with it. It does require age verification. Amazing.
Choose your cleaner. Scent Pine.
Turns out there's only certain things in life we can control.
Pine Frog Wizard.
What the hell?
Pine Guava. Da Banana. True Grime Detective. Meow, meow, meow.
I wonder what's taking so long for my garlic bread.
Oh, I love these. Oh god, I love these. These are so amazing.
Let me check what's going on in the kitchen. Yes. Stay calm. The garlic bread is gone. There's a bit of poison and rat in it, but nobody knows. I'm fine. I'm fine.
Where are my tomatoes, Jeff?
Wait, why is everyone freaking out? I wonder where that sound is coming from. Hey guys.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I love those. There's so many of those.
It's free to shake that ass.
Oh my god! Dobby! Dobby, I think I'm getting a throbby!
Dobby's feeling a bit freaky.
Oh, bad Dobby! Oh, naughty Dobby!
Dobby is going to bust on Daddy Dumbledore.
Ban them. Who sent that? Ban. That was
Because if I swallow, why would a molecule of water misplaced in my throat cheek make me huck a fucking loogie?
The what?
Jokes I'm about to tell are not funny, so don't laugh.
I'm ready.
Have you heard of the new sport, quiet tennis? It's just like tennis, but without the racket. It's not funny. How much does a rainbow weigh? Not much. It's pretty light. It's not funny. What's the fastest way to mess up someone's knock-knock joke?
Sorry, not funny.
It's open. It's not funny. Don't laugh.
Hey.
What do you do if you get rejected for a job at a sunscreen company? You reapply. It's not funny. You want to hear 2 short jokes and a long joke? Joke, joke, joke. It's not funny. I'm starting a business to teach short people math. It's called making the little things count. It's not funny. You know, the other day my car was
That's for you, chat.
in a sweater store. So they asked for my cardigan. It's not funny. Don't laugh.
Making the little things count. It's for you, chat.
If anybody asks me what happened, she got in the trunk willingly.
Twinner. Twinner. Yo, could you hold this for me real quick? Grab this thing.
Both of them?
Yeah. Now, gang, come with me this way.
While holding it?
What the fuck is going on?
No, you pull up this way. Why you holding it? Yeah, why you holding it? Why you holding it? Stand this way. I'm saying, all right. No. I'm saying you go.
No, you saying stand over here.
No, I'm saying, look. I'm saying grab this end. Let me grab that end. No, that's not what I'm saying. No, I already seen Squid Game too. Pass me that real quick. This way. Gang.
What the?
Yeah, I can't be here all day. Could you help me real quick? Could you help me? Twin. Twin. For real.
What?
If you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. And don't
Okay.
worry, I can do that. But what do I do about my face?
This is amazing.
You're surrounded by a vampire, a werewolf, and a chain demon.
Okay.
This is it. The moment I've been waiting for. I cast Greater Polycule! Do you mean Greater Polymorph? I do not. No.
Feel a gentle release on your faces
Me too,
as
man.
the masks
Me
are still
too.
affixed, but you feel like you could take them off. What?
Mikey's laughing at gentle release on your face. Mikey's laughing at gentle release on your face. Mikey was laughing at
Chat, we're watching some of these. We're watching some of these afterwards.
on your face, and I started laughing at it. And you said it, Nikki. I had them together. And you said it. Mikey's in tears. I illustrated Mikey. Nobody said gentle release on nobody. I held it together. Why don't we take a break?
If you don't know, chicken shows are a real thing, and I'm going to show you how to judge a cock. Did you not
Yeah.
think I was serious? This is a cock. Well, technically,
Okay.
he's a cockerel because he is a young cock. He's a young boy. Cockerel is a male chicken under a year old. Judging process for chickens is pretty damn serious. So listen up. So the first thing any judge is going to do is just look at your cock. You can tell a lot by just looking. Yes, we are going to get our hands on it. That's the fun part. But right now, we're just going to look at some key features. I'm just trying to get him to stand appropriately, maybe move around in the cage. Thank you for that. Now, key features of a Brahma are their skull. It does have a really nice Asiatic skull. Next is wing carriage. I believe him to be molting, and he's just not holding his wings correctly. But these wings need to be right here, parallel to the back. Now, what they're looking for in a bird is going to depend on the breed. He is a great example of a Brahma. Tight wings, long back, and a beautiful tail, as well as being freaking massive. So the next thing a judge is going to do is actually put their hands on your cock. So to grab a cock,
Okay. I'm ready for this. Let's go.
kind of bring them facing you, and you always want them exiting head first. Out of the cage. Okay, big boy. So now that they have your feathered hog in their hands, they're going to go over a few of the major, minor details. Conditioning is worth 10 points. This boy, he doesn't really have any nicks in his feathers. You just want to make sure that everything is pristine. So we're just going to go over each wing. I was judging him right now. What I would notice is his tail isn't all the way in. These are his main tail feathers that are going to be filling in this gap right here, and they are not all the way in at all.
This is actually really interesting and really funny.
Looked at him, I am going to put him back head first, pretty similar to that, and he's just going to go into the cage. I might feel him in the cage, make him show off maybe one more time, and then I would move on to another chicken. Now in the show hall, it's pretty fast paced. They're going over thousands of birds, and they can't spin forever at each one.
Oh my God, I love that one.
This boy doesn't really show them anything that they like really right off the bat. They're just going to move on to the next
You made
one
up for Dobby.
without giving him a chance. Win or lose, it's still a great time. You can sometimes learn a lot more from just losing than winning. But our first show is in 10 days, so...
I like how the joke ended really quickly. I like how quickly the joke ran out. He was just like, yeah, here's jokes, here's jokes, here's jokes. Also, here's the very serious process of chicken judging. I'm excited to tell you about it.
I do my scales. Wah, 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 SpongeBob. La 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 la.
All hail Asteroid Destroyer.
The kingdom of Asteroid Destroyer is no more. This house has been conquered by the almighty Galaxy Annihilator.
All hail Galaxy Annihilator.
The kingdom of Asteroid and Galaxy have been overthrown by the chinchillas. All hail Chicken Nuggets.
All hail Chicken Nugget.
The chinchillas have been overthrown by the kingdom. All hail Solar Flare.
All hail Solar Flare.
Why do the cats have such cool names?
All hail Asteroid Destroyer.
Solar Flare has united with the other kittens, but was tragically overthrown by the Wizard Chinchilla. All hail Wizard Chinchilla.
All hail Wizard Chinchilla.
By the way, we're going to be playing this game because the full thing released now.
Really? My glasses, my teeth, my build, my face. Just missing the beard, and that's me. God damn it!
Just start streaming. We.
Do the roar! Roar! Do the roar! What?
Vibes. I got it. Give me a kiss. Do the roar. Roar. Chat, do the roar. Chat, do the roar. Wait, is this an English horn? What makes it English? Proud of you. Good job, chat. Oh, it likes hot tea. Got it. Has a weird accent. That is a beautiful instrument, though. God, I'm about to space out. You played this in high school? This is you in high school? You have some very masculine hands, Addy. I dig it. By the way, this is on TikTok. It's such a long video for being on TikTok. It's TikTok Premium. There we go.
and the ooh, and I'm gonna ooh, and I'm gonna ooh, am I gonna?
I'm gonna, yeah. Me too, buddy. You and me both.
Hammer. Got the camera. Just select the camera.
Wait, what's this?
Camera's loading.
What's?
Okay, should be working.
Okay. Hi, Maple.
Hello?
La 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 la. I'm just a lonely little hammer on the floor. I hope someone comes and builds something with me.
Hi, Hammer.
Oh, I see someone approaching. Hey, sir.
No. What? Stop. What happened? Oh no.
Okay, should be working. Hello?
La 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 la. I'm just a lonely little hammer on the floor. I hope someone comes and builds something with me.
Hi, Hammer.
Oh, I see someone approaching. Hey, sir.
No.
Okay, should be working.
All right, we're gonna let it play. Maybe we'll pick up. Come on, you can do it. I believe in you. Come on, you can do it. You can do it. Come, you can do it. I believe in you. Come on, play. Work. Come on. I'm sorry, Aura. Nope, no, it's not. There's more video. Yep. That one broke. I'm sorry, Aura. Carmea, can you do the honors? Thank you for the hydrate.
My doctor says he's had a taste of heaven. My doctor says he took a stroll through hell. I suppose that when we go, it's a revoir.
What the fuck?
Maybe farewell.
Excuse me.
No.
What the fuck? What the fuck was that?
Tasted heaven. My daddy says he knows it very well. I just hope that when he goes, that I can go as well.
No. Excuse me. No, come back here. Ooh, not even the range, the vocal control, the individual notes.
My doctor says he took a stroll through hell. I suppose that when we go, it's a revoir. Maybe farewell.
It's coming up here.
No.
It's split up. What the fuck?
My doctor says he's had a
How?
My doctor says he took a stroll through hell. I suppose that when we go, it's a revoir. Maybe farewell. No.
It sounds like you're playing it on a keyboard. Do you hear what I'm hearing? I don't want to think I'm going like insane. That's not normal, right? It sounds like a keyboard, like somebody's going do, like strumming their fingers across a keyboard, so each note is individual. But it's done so quickly, it feels like it's going But it's the distinction in such a subtle space. Okay, we're gonna turn it up. I need everybody to hear this like I'm hearing it because I'm going insane. Oh, wait. Okay, come on. Where is it? Staccato and her vibrato. I mean, it just seems. I don't know. It feels. If that's all it is, that's all it is. But it's a technique I don't know, and it's so interesting. I've never done this before. It's just. It's very cool.
My doctor says he's had a taste of heaven. My doctor says he took a stroll through hell. I suppose that when we go, it's a revoir. Maybe farewell. No, no. My mother says she's never tasted heaven. My daddy says he knows it very well. I just hope that when he goes that I can go as well.
It's one of those things. I mean, like y'all know how I do different voices, right? It's something you don't really think about until you're approached with the technique. Like you would never even think about doing something like that unless you had heard somebody doing that. Same thing with like any voice I do. It's just figuring out different placements where the voice is and sits in your throat, and it's very easy to do all the voices I do. But you gotta know that it exists. You gotta know how to figure it out, and that is just such a cool technique I've never seen in my entire life. So excited. I'm very happy. This is an amazing video. Whoever submitted this, amazing. I want to learn how to do that. I don't know if I could do that, because I don't think I can control my vibrato to go that quickly. Staccato, legato switch. Is that what it is? Oh, the toning. Okay, no mind. I don't know any of the technique names. Chad, it's me. That's me as a horse. Hunts.
What do you see when I show you this ink blot?
A very sad middle-aged man wearing sandals.
I think I have the right treatment for your problem.
Tape across the mouth. Hey, Aura.
Straight ahead, you spot the glowing eyes of a monster. That same one that killed your family, that murdered your friends. Its eyes are full of hate and malice. So was it remorse?
I have it.
Really
You're good.
Stop looking at that damn mirror.
Oh, I like that. What's this? What's this? What are we doing? What are we doing?
Hey, I got all these numbers in my bank account. I got a 1, 2, 3, 4 in my bank account. In my bank account. I got 5, 6, 7, and 8 in my bank account. In my bank account. I got 9, 10, 11, and 12 in my bank account. In my bank account. I got 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 in my bank account. I got it in my bank account. Do you got a bank account? Tell me, do you got a bank account? Cause I got it in my bank account. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bank accounts. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 9 bank accounts. 7, 3, 5, 6, 2, 5, 3. Don't mad at me, cause I ain't got
Tubman
shit.
would be
Only
mad.
shit I got is just shit in my piss. What? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 50, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65.
Here's time to think. No, it better not continue. It better not continue. I will. Don't you dare come.
Father Webby.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. I need to confess a sin, Father.
All right, chat. We're gonna do this. By the way, I'm doing this.
Sin, young man.
All right. I worked at a grocery store in my teenage years. I won't get specific, but one of my duties was once a month. After the store was closed, we had to clean the store. There was this one girl. Are you familiar with the term gumping it?
Father Webby is not familiar with the term gumping it.
So gumping it is when someone is not quite retarded, but they're like just on that line. So while it's an ethical...
I'ma skip forward past this. Nah. Sorry. No. Yeah, we're not going to do that one. Is this another one by him? Is this the same guy from before?
Niggas say I'm out of town, I'm in Hong Kong.
Yeah, no, we're going to skip past that one. There are some things that we're not going to be watching on stream. Okay? Like, yeah.
You're being a rapper.
Is this, yeah, no, okay, I'm good. We're good. We're good. I'm done with this man. Well, thank you. That was definitely interesting, especially those last ones. Well, but Aura, I do appreciate you for making that video. Some of them were amazing. Some of them were questionable. Some of them were definitely videos that had been made. Maybe I need to start reviewing these. But yes, I do appreciate it. I appreciate all the submissions, and I definitely appreciate Aura assembling the video, even though 2 of them broke. So, well, you know what that means. You know what's going to happen there. But yeah. What time is it, chat? It is... No, sorry, Aura. It's going to have to happen. It's going to have to happen, Aura. I mean, there was 2 of them. Two mistakes, and that means it has to happen twice. I don't know how it's going to happen twice, but it's going to have to happen. So, I got my little plastic toy here. It makes little rattling noises. I love this thing. This is the stupidest little fidget I've ever seen. With a blunt 3D print. It's not 3D printed, by the way. This is form casted. You can tell because they have the lines. If any of you don't know about form casting, you know what we're gonna watch, chat? You know what we're watching right now? No. There we go. Yes. Which one? Cakes cook? I have not. You almost went 3 minutes and 46 seconds. Gray beef? Why would you want to cook gray beef? What is that? What is gray beef? That can't be a thing. I hope that's not a thing. We're gonna do window capture. We're gonna do the here. We're gonna throw this up. You ready? Thank you for the bits. All right, this is how it's actually made. Oh, wait, I'm gone. Let me... Whoops. There we go. Hello or not? There we go. It's true. It's just how it happens. It's how it's actually made. It's true. Mm-hmm. It's really hard, chat. It's really hard to fight back the chocolate. Every time the chocolate's made, this happens every single time. I've done it before. I've done that. I put my hand in the chocolate. God damn it, Peter. I don't know what it does. Hello, Astral Rose. Exactly. You can do that to me. And there you go. I thought you all needed that. I thought you all needed to experience that thing that just we experienced together, you know? Did you enjoy? Was it so educational? Take that to your classes. If any of you are teachers, you can go teach that to people. Go teach it to people. It'll be great. I believe in it. Yeah, no, that's how chocolate is made. You torture it a little bit. We're gonna watch some Jay Schlatt now. Well, we are actually coming up on the end of stream in a little bit, so I don't know if there's more to do. We might call it here. Yeah, I might call it here. Quick click. What do you want me to click? Fine, just for you. Okay. You ready? There you go. There's your clicks. You got your clicks for the day. I hope you're happy. Hope you're happy now. I hope you're proud of that. Just enjoy it. God, you are such. I can't believe you're already clicker trained. Why are so many of you clicker trained? Can we discuss this real quick? Why are so many of you clicker trained? What happened in your lives to make you clicker trained? What is going on in your life that being clicker trained made sense? We're gonna listen to Static X while this is happening. Your ex clicker trained you. Honestly, that makes sense. Makes sense for a lot of you. And we're listening to that all now. What made you buy a clicker? To make people focus, because it works. Actually, I primarily use it for audio. I use it for doing like audio recordings. So what you do is you do an audio recording, and you're like, oh shit, I fucked up this line. I need to do a little ping. And you do that. And you're like, oh, I messed it up again. Same line. Then you do two. Oh, I messed it up again a third time. And that way, when you're looking at the audio tracks, you can see where the different the peaks are. And those peaks is where you cut out the audio. Makes it very easy for doing quick audio editing. Saves you a lot of time in the post process instead of having to listen to every single take to see which one's the best. No, it makes a peak. It's a sharp noise, so it makes a peak in the audio track. And you don't learn to hear the peaks, you can just visibly see them. Fuck off. Yeah, push it. Also, chat, I'm going to be looking for people to get drunk with me and read Shakespeare. So if in case you have anybody who might be interested, especially any voice actors, and you know any of them, let me know. Send them my way. And that might be happening. All right. Well, while this song ends, I'm going to find somebody for us to read out to. And thank you all for hanging out with us. This was a lot of fun, as it always is. I appreciate it a lot. Is Kaisa not back again? Huh. See it all, I need it. I see it all, I need it. Sorry. Scrimps, you want me to raid into Scrimps again? I don't know. I mean, we could. Fine, chat. Fine, chat. I will send you into Scrimps. Yeah. No, Shakespeare also isn't real, chat. Oh my God, there's a shrimp. Okay, I need to send you right there. I'm sending you right now. There's a shrimp right now. There's a shrimp right now. No, there's shrimp. You're going to go see the shrimps. It's not working. Ah. There you go. Okay, I'm gonna go send you all to raid shrimps. Go say hi, shrimps. It's gonna be great. Y'all are fantastic. Y'all are amazing. I love you all so very, 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 very much. We'll be back here tomorrow morning. You know, the usual time, 3:30 a.m. Probably with some more. Actually, when is October? Okay, October we're starting to do a different kind of ASMR junks, but this is gonna be, you know, the normal Minecraft ASMR schedule coming out later tonight. And I love y'all. Be good.